Mitt Romney wanted to be the Republican presidential nominee in the 2008 election, and he failed. He got close, but he didn't win the nomination. Senator John McCain did. McCain then, of course, lost to now President Barack Obama. That was the bad news for Mitt Romney and the Republicans. The good news was that there was a lot for Mitt Romney to learn from that 2008 campaign, from McCain's and from his own example. For example, do not pick an untested, unvetted, shoot-for-the-stars running mate. It will not end well for you. Another lesson was a little less obvious and a little more personal. One Mitt Romney needed to learn the hard way. Even if the election doesn't seem like it's all about foreign policy, you have to at least appear like you know what the heck you're talking about. You are asking to be the commander-in-chief, not the haircut-in-chief. So do not confuse all the bad guys, all the people that don't like America, but don't like each other either, and roll them into one big ball of evil.
This is about Hezbollah and Hamas and al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. This is a worldwide jihadist effort to try and cause the collapse of all moderate Islamic governments and replace them with a caliphate.
It is not that. Half of those people hate the other half. That sounds scary, what Romney said, but it's not true. A couple of days after revealing that rather broad misunderstanding of geopolitics, Mitt Romney single-handedly manufactured an even bigger embarrassment. What is the one thing you know about the war in Iraq? What is the one thing every single reputable foreign policy, national security, and defense expert agrees on, no matter what party affiliation? What is the big agreed-upon fact? When the United States invaded in 2003, Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction.
Am I the only one that's thinking that in all the build-up to the war, that those weapons of mass destruction got moved to...
It's possible, right? It's entirely possible.
What Sean Hannity said there was that the WMDs got moved to Syria. And no, they did not. It's not even remotely possible that Saddam had WMDs at the time. Even President Bush agreed it wasn't remotely possible. That is just, well, it's a little embarrassing. So now it's 2012, and Mitt Romney's got a shot at the presidency all over again, and he basically gets a do-over. Few people remember that he didn't know the difference between bad guys and thought maybe Iraq had WMDs. Romney has a chance to prove himself a serious foreign policy guy who should be elected president of a country that is still at war even today. Now, we may not act like a country at war, but we are at war, and Mitt Romney wants to be the guy in charge of that war. Now, for my entire lifetime, there has been a singular Republican playbook that has been incredibly successful against Democrats, and it goes like this. Republicans are hawkish and tough and uncompromising on security. They will protect you, whereas Democrats are weak, and they enjoy funny kinds of sailing and all the flip-flopping. It would be foolish for any Republican to cede the foreign policy national security advantage to Democrats. So this year, Romney, in a close election, needed to get it right. Run on the economy, sure, but don't give up the whole national security thing. The problem is Mitt Romney is running against the president who finally killed Osama bin Laden and ended the really, really unpopular war in Iraq, and who amped up the drone war, like it or not, that has killed almost every guy to ever hold the title Al-Qaeda's number 3. So what does Romney say about Al-Qaeda to differentiate himself from the president? How does he come across tougher than President Obama? Well, yesterday, Romney spoke to the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW. The topics were the military and national security and external threats, etc. Not once in his speech did Mitt Romney mention the phrase Al-Qaeda. Not once. Go ahead. We've linked the transcript on our blog. You can go there, you can hit Control-F and type in Al-Qaeda. You will get nothing. And in anticipation of that speech, the Romney campaign put out this fact sheet detailing the candidate's foreign policy. There were lots and lots of bullet points, but again, not any mentions of Al-Qaeda. Control-F Al-Qaeda? Bupkis. As we speak, Mitt Romney is on a foreign tour. His own campaign is pushing it as a big deal and a chance for the candidate to display his foreign policy global bona fides. Yes, there is something missing from this map, though. I mean, it makes sense why Romney would go to London for the Olympics. It's a key part of his biography. And Israel, which is a key ally, and Poland is on the trip, which is fine. In the words of George W. Bush, you don't forget Poland. But how do you go on your big foreign trip as a presidential candidate and not go to Afghanistan? How do you not go to where we're still at war? In an interview today with NBC News' Brian Williams, Mitt Romney turned down the opportunity to criticize the president on foreign policy, well, with being on foreign soil and whatnot. But if you actually compare Mitt Romney's foreign policy and Obama's foreign policy, you see that while Mitt is very good at using the tough-sounding words that have worked so well for Republicans for a generation, he is less good at actually differentiating himself from the president. Joining us now is Spencer Ackerman, national security writer for Wired.com's Danger Room, a friend of mine, and somebody who has actually dug deep into the details of Romney's foreign policy and taken a hard look at how it compares to Obama. Spencer, it is very good to see you.
Good to see you as always, Evan.
So, you wrote a great piece today, and the title of it was The 5 Things We've Learned About How Mitt Would Run the World. And number one was that he seems to run the world when it comes to Afghanistan, Egypt, and maybe even Iran, a lot like President Obama is running the world.
It's a lot like if Romney hired Obama's aides, but they had nothing but bad things to say about themselves. That's all you get. You get a lot of rhetoric about how this is a failed policy, this is an overly politicized foreign policy, but I'm going to do the same things.
Right. And right, so that's the key, right? They don't have functional disagreements, and yet they have very big sort of rhetorical disagreements. Romney says that Obama has been around apologizing for America, and a broad point he makes is that the difference between him and Obama is resolve. It is will, that he will have the resolve in America, and there's nothing that we cannot do if we sort of put our backs into it. That reminds me quite a bit of early-term George W. Bush, that it was just about how much America wanted it. I mean, the realists in Romney's camp, the people who were chastened by the Bush administration, they have to be reeling a bit from that.
And what's even stranger about it is that if you wanted to look towards the guy whose words and actions match up and have been more consistent, that's Obama. It's not Romney. It's Obama who in 2007 said he was going to have an all-out effort to kill Osama bin Laden with or without Pakistan. It was Obama who said he was going to increase troop levels in Afghanistan. It was Obama who said that he was going to end the Iraq War. Whereas if you look at Romney, then sometimes now, sometimes last Tuesday, sometimes next Wednesday, it's a little bit different. You got an actually more hawkish Romney on Iran than you do this time around. All of a sudden now Russia is the biggest geopolitical foe until this new speech at the VFW in which Iran poses the bigger danger. It's a little bit more difficult to get a sense of where that resolve actually plays out. And I'll tell you, Ezra, I wanted to wonk out on this speech so badly, and Romney denied me the facts, figures.
Didn't give you the details.
I felt
when you don't have
dejected.
a graph, it's hard to do it. On Iran, though, because he said now Iran is the single biggest threat. And Obama has done a major virus attack on Iran to begin to bring down some of their nuclear reactors. He has been a participant in multiple rounds of sanctions. How different was what Romney proposed to do on Iran than what Obama has proposed to do on Iran?
On the level of rhetoric, it's very different. It's a lot more bellicose than Obama's rhetoric is. It's very contemptuous of what Obama did in terms of saying at the beginning of his presidency that he was going to talk to Iran without preconditions. On the level of substance, very different. Romney didn't rule out negotiating with Iran. He just simply said that zero enrichment of uranium was the goal. Didn't really clarify whether that was the beginning of talks or the end point to them, but didn't immediately say, the bombs are going to drop in 5 minutes. Similarly, he's really against Russia. He's against Obama moving closer to Russia. However, if he backs away from that position, Russia has every incentive, as it did before the Obama administration's drift toward Russia, to go back to helping Iran and frustrating the international consensus on Iran. And it's hard to see how that knits together for Romney, and his advisors kind of play that away rather than, deal with it head on.
Spencer Ackerman, national security writer for Wired.com's Danger Room, and I'm sorry you were denied the opportunity to walk out today.
One day.
Maximum information, minimum elapsed time. The wonkiest 2 minutes in television are coming up next.